I have for you the most cringy moment on television in a very long time that happened on Fox and Friends. We're going to get to that. But at first I have to break down the setup to it. And I'm sure you may have heard parts of this, but it is just too unbelievable. So Fox and Friends, a morning show on Fox, was just reading a poll that revealed, or a series of polls that revealed Ron DeSantis is surging a lot in the polls and that Donald Trump isn't as popular in the Republican Party as he's been before. And they did start out the segment about talking that in a Turning Point USA event, they did a straw poll of, 300 of the people who are there, whatever, and it showed that Trump had 80% support. But that's one event. That's not using good polling practices. That's not a proper poll. That's just, seeing what an event feels about the political landscape, which is fun, interesting to hear, but not at all the same as proper polling done by polling institutions. And so after reading this 80% poll popularity among this event, they give some context of, but this isn't what we're seeing across the country with actual polls. And Trump freaks out on Truth Social afterwards. We're going to get to that, but that's not the crazy part. Okay. The crazy part is once Trump freaks out, they come back on Fox and Friends and have the most awkward interaction I've ever seen. But first, here's the original moment where they're talking about this polling.
We've got people from all across the country convening in Tampa. I am thinking about that is a little different than a couple of other polls that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. 2 weeks ago in Florida, Blueprint Polling did a poll. DeSantis leads the former president in all age groupings. Then there was a University of New Hampshire poll in June. DeSantis actually led Trump 39-37. And that New York Times Siena college poll that we've cited quite a few times, less than half of Republican voters backed Donald Trump as their preferred choice. So it's like the young people who are activists at that event, right, like the former president, but looking at these other polls, different answer.
Yeah.
So very reasonable. You're just reading polls. You're not giving your own opinion on who you think the Republican nominee should be, whatever. So Trump, we don't need to read it, but he just goes on and says that, Fox and Friends is now on the dark side and they gave no context and horrible, horrible, horrible. So he tweets that out or sends that out on Truth Social, and they come back on and this is their interaction another day when talking about polling. I literally cannot tell you how cringy this is. Okay.
55% of Republicans or people leaning Republican want somebody other than Donald Trump to run. That's up 6% from their earlier poll.
And if the former president's watching, you should know those are just the numbers you're relaying. You didn't come up with those numbers, right?
CNN came.
If the former president, there's way more, so don't think that's just it. If the former president is watching, we didn't come up with those polls. That was CNN. What? You have a massive audience, but you only hear about one person who's watching.
Up with right. Ainsley said that if this was a fascinating poll. It is. That's why we just talked about it.
And they are right as often as Haley's Comet comes by every 7 years.
So you're just saying all we talked about for the last 4 minutes is not
So, man over here, gosh, what's his name? Let's see. Kilmeade. Brian Kilmeade, and this is Ducey. So Kilmeade goes, if the former president's watching, that's CNN. And then Ducey goes, well, yeah. And then Kilmeade's like, and CNN is barely ever right. And then Ducey's like, okay, so everything that we've been talking about has been wrong then? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. I'm just saying if Donald Trump is watching, and if Donald Trump is watching, just let him know we didn't come up with that number. That's what the poll said.
So you can tell now that Ducey's getting kind of annoyed because he's like, I don't want to have to, I'll kiss up to Trump, but I don't want to have to sit here and talk directly to him through the camera and not be able to just normally give some of these polls without apologizing for it. So then there's a little bit of tension coming up.
Absolutely. I was talking to,
Yeah.
I was talking to a pollster about these numbers, and they seem to be across the board regarding so few people in the Democratic Party want Joe to run.
It's just too soon to tell. There's so many different polls, and they all say different things. But the majority of the Democratic polls do say the majority of Democrats want a different candidate.
But didn't they just sample 360 people?
I don't know the number. Is that what it was?
Yeah, 362 registered voters.
Okay, so not a big group.
So it's not exactly 340 million, but I'm sure some scientists would make sense of that.
I don't know what's happening, but can I just say, About Fox and Friends, can we just get a desk that y'all all sit around? Because this whole like that you're sitting on a couch and then we're having to watch you like awkwardly shift around on the couch, and then when you have to look at a piece of paper, you're crouching way down to like a coffee table, and Kill Me the whole time, I don't know if you noticed this, he'll just be staring directly at the camera when someone else is talking, like look at right there, and his knees are awkwardly adjusting. This just is such a weird dynamic on that show. Anyways, so we are so sorry, Trump, that we're giving accurate poll or that we're giving poll numbers, and they have to explicitly say, so he won't go after them, that this isn't our opinion, this is just a poll by CNN and they're not even right. It's so awkward. Oh my gosh, what is the world? See, while I recognize that there's lots of issues with the more liberal mainstream media, they don't care as much about what individual politicians think of their show. They care, they want access, they care about access journalism. They're not going to go too hard to go against certain people, but they're not sitting there thinking, do I have to not read this poll and explicitly say on air, like, hey, Joe Biden, I just want you to know, if you're watching our show today, that we don't believe this, we're just reading a poll. It's wild. That's just so wild that on a major, cable network, they really are having to cater to one person, and that's Donald Trump. They're thinking about one viewer out of their millions, probably. Crazy.